Well, we have a new caller, Sonny Kiri, who joins us from Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. Thanks for joining us. But what can you tell us on the goings-on in the Niger Delta region?
In Niger Delta, like what I've seen and noticed so far is that the present administration have not taken people from grassroots along. Like this issue of bumping of pipeline could be solved without involving Nigerian military. If we have the right people that are being appointed in the Niger Delta, like the Ministry of Niger Delta and the Special Advisor to the Niger Delta, those two people alone can solve this whole problem if they can have a good relationship with the people in the Niger Delta and the so-called Avengers. Because what I've seen so far is that there is disconnection and there is no communication. If there is, those two ministries could have solved this issue before even the president or any other body can have a way of thinking to solve it. Because if I'm working with a company and that company, I came from that region, and if something is happening in that very place, I should have a clear background of knowing what to do and what to tell the company that these people, if we go this way and if we approach them this way, there will be we will know how to solve the problem. But what I've seen so far, the people that's been appointed from that Niger Delta region, they don't have good communication with the people in Niger Delta.
Well, there you go. Time isn't on our side. What will you say as we conclude?
What I have to say is that the president should rethink about those he appointed and try to come up with a solution that will let the people feel that these are people, our people, also in part of this government. Because, like, when I've been listening to some of what they were asking, I believe there is disconnection and there is lack of communication within the people of that region and this present administration. So let there be proper channels of communication so that we can at least handle this issue for a while. Because I believe if there is a proper channels of communication, these are issues we can handle without going into further disruption.
At this point, we will soon be hobbled because there is no money coming into the federal purse. And when there is no money coming into the federal purse, a lot of states rely on their federal allocations, the federal government relies on its federal allocation, and so on and so forth. What will happen is the economy, as the government is involved, the part of the economy which the government is involved in, which is the civil service and what have you, will come to a standstill. And as you also rightfully pointed out, that will probably lead to anarchy. So what does the government need to do? Again, it comes back to what was said originally. It needs to find the people who are responsible and either take them out or bring them to the table. Genuinely bring them to the table. What they want, I don't know if any sensible government ought to give it to them, which is continue to allow them to rule the Niger Delta like they did in the past half a decade or more. So they need to bring them to the table and figure out what can be done that is just and equitable to both the people of Nigeria and the people of the Niger Delta. And of course, failing that, the other option of just simply neutralizing them is also and should also be on the table.
There is no way a government, a sensible government, let me put it that way, would compromise on issues that have to do with corruption. Those issues are too germane for a government to compromise on. But if the genuine demands of these people have that they do not have what other regions are not producing, these crude oil or oil proceeds do have, give it to them. They deserve it. Their land in quote is responsible for most of these things the larger federation is enjoying. Outside that analysis, government needs to make life meaningful for those people. That builds public confidence. It can then launch its political approach from the perspective of the little achievements it must have recorded from that point. But more importantly, the government must not at any point in time pretend or demonstrate weakness in the way it secures the oil facilities that belongs to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. If it does that, we will be having under Jonathan era, looking at us in the face or staring at us in the face. And I think that that perhaps could be the way forward. Deliver on your responsibilities to the people, secure your oil installations as much as you can, and then tackle the other problem from the political perspective. It's a multi-dimensional approach, if you ask me.
All right, guys, thanks for coming on the program this afternoon and sharing your thoughts, but that's where we have to leave the conversation. We take a quick break, and when we return, we'll be joined by a security expert for more analysis on this topic. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now joining us is Nnamdi Anekwe. Nnamdi is a security expert, so to speak. His job mostly is on security intelligence. Nnamdi, thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Now we're facing a new threat. What can you tell us about this group now, Niger Delta Avengers?
Well, the Niger Delta Avengers developed in the past few months. You know, they've been targeting the crude oil infrastructure of the major multinationals, including the state-run NNPC. You know, the reason is they talk about degradation of the environment. They talk about resource control. They talk about restructuring of the federation in terms of giving more resource allocation to resource control powers to the region. You know, we've seen this play before the President Yar'Adua's amnesty program. You know, about 2002, 2003 to 2009, when they were blowing up oil infrastructure, kidnapping expatriate workers for ransom, demanding for greater share of the oil wealth, and also for greater sharing of resource by the region. So when the Yar'Adua government gave them amnesty program, it sort of died down. But we've seen the escalation since the current government came into being. So some of us are looking at it and asking whether it is political or is it, because when you look at it, you see that their demands are quite just. But some people have said, okay, if you give them money, they will back out. But what we've learned so far is that, some of these agitations and their actions for shutting down some of this infrastructure is actually meant to, draw government's attention to come to the table in trying to withdraw the current Nigerian federalism that is not working for everybody.
All right, so talking about those demands, what are those demands? I mean, I know you made mention, or what you made mention earlier were like what they're worried about, which is the environmental degradation, and they're about. But what are these demands?
Well, the past 3 weeks when they released some of the demands, on their website and some of their social media handles, they keep talking about, the oil wealth being concentrated in the hands, 90% of the oil blocks in the region being concentrated in the hands of the northerners. And also the oil spill that, the degradation that happens to the environment. So they are looking at a holistic, their alleged injustice that has been meted to the region. So they are saying that they want a greater share of the resources coming from that region. Now, whether it's political, whether it's terrorism, we cannot really run to a conclusion. But what we are seeing is they are asking for, a sort of restructuring of the country's federation in terms of oil rents. Because we have a situation where all the oil rents go to a particular account called federation account and is shared for the whole country. So they believe that it is not favorable to the region that produces 90% so to say of the oil wealth. So they are asking for greater share, and in doing so, they are sabotaging, or they are using all instruments at their disposal to draw the world's attention and also the government's attention to this cause.